Welcome to Switched on IT. We have Ray and Doug with us again today. Doug is in Sydney from Oz Hosting, and Ray, if you've been watching before, is I think in Washington DC today. Yeah, welcome, gentlemen.
Hi there.
Thank you, Barry.
Now we're talking about Instagram again today. So Doug, we'll turn this over to you. Tell us about Instagram.
Very good. Thanks, Barry. And yeah, this is chapter 2 of our discussion about Instagram. So previously we were talking about the different types of posts that you can make. It asks a lot of your content creation skills, I think, to be able to use Instagram effectively. And with so many different ways of making posts and posts being so potentially ephemeral, you know, one does wonder, how on earth do you come up with sufficient content to keep an Instagram account live and interesting, and you know, giving the followers plenty of meat, plenty of interesting things to follow? So it looks on the surface quite daunting, but Ray, I think you've got, you know, quite a few ideas or structures that would help us keep Instagram looking pretty fresh. So let's have a chat about content strategy and what you recommend, how you go about it.
Sure. So first and foremost, you've got to decide whether you're B2C, B2B, B2G, business to government. You know, what's the various audience that you're trying to reach, and whether or not Instagram is right for you. But if you're B2B and B2C, Instagram is likely a pretty good place for you to be on it. It depends on how active you need to be on it, depending upon where you're already active and where your particular audience is. But let's take, you know, out the gate, let's say that this is the right platform for you, is either a B2B or B2C business, and you're trying to become more active. As I frequently say in seminars, it's not a matter of creating content. It's a matter of being aware to capture the content. And for most business owners, where you have, it's either you or limited staff, especially for marketing purposes, you need to remember throughout your day to be capturing content. It's one of the ABCs of my marketing strategy, right? Always be capturing, always be collecting that kind of content, because you never know where you're going to use it in the future. And if you're always capturing that content, then in reality, you'll be able to repurpose it or utilize that content when you least expect it. You know, you took a picture at a conference with a colleague 6 months ago, and then today that colleague calls you and says, oh, I'd like to refer you to this particular business, or, you know, that person, and now you want to be able to post about that in an Instagram story. And well, that's great, because now you have this photograph that you took 6 months ago with yourself and that colleague. So it's about remembering what content you are collecting, so knowing how to categorize it as you're collecting it. So you can't collect it all and throw it into a big pile of digital, you know, refuse on your phone or in OneDrive or something like that. You really do need to catalog and collect that stuff in a clear, calculated fashion. And you know, that might be naming the files in a particular way, or at least categorizing it by event or that kind of thing. And then once you've started to collect the content, then you can start to think about what type of stories do you want to tell. So if you're trying to tell stories about your employees and the way in which they provide customer service, because customer service is a really important story that sells to future customers, then you want to make sure that you are capturing that type of story and matching it up with the kind of Instagram posts that you're capable of doing. And we talked about all the various types of posts in the last episode, right? So if you think that having an interaction in Instagram stories of little 10-second snippets of customers giving testimonials, and if you get a lot of testimonials, say audio testimonials or video testimonials in your store, restaurant, or virtually, well, maybe you can capture those and use those as Instagram stories that then are posted and added to an ongoing highlight, a story highlights folder. Or if you are a restaurant and your chef is continually creating new food, well, you have an unlimited amount of content, because if the story is about the food, maybe it's about how you source the food or the type of food. Say you're a Thai restaurant, or if you're a French American restaurant, well, you're going to be telling the story of what comes into and what creates the cuisine. You're going to be telling the experiences of your restaurant, goers, the people who the people who come into your eatery and experience the restaurant. So what are the stories that your business tells on each of those levels? Again, the brand story level, your business, what's going on inside the business, and then what's happening with your customers. What are the customer stories to tell? And we know that when you're a potential customer of a business, you want to see yourself interacting and engaging with the product or service that is of your need or want. And so if that's the story you're trying to tell in Instagram, then you need to make sure that in some way, shape, or form, you're showing me how I fit in to the story that you're trying to tell. How do I fit with your product or service? Is that through testimonials? Is that through demos where you bring new customers onto camera and take pictures of them trying out your product or using your product? Say you sell fitness clothing, and so you want to see people wearing your fitness clothes and feeling good in those fitness clothes, doing high intensity activities in that clothing to make themselves appear the way in which they want to feel. So it's about trying to get that sense of story that you want to be able to be told.
Okay, so that sounds to me like it's a little bit of a day in the life of thisbusiness.com.au. So if we think about all the things that happen in a business on a daily basis, we have interactions with customers. Hopefully, most of the time, nearly all of the time, they're good interactions, and probably even when they're bad interactions, there's potentially an Instagram story that can come out of that, because sometimes it's people may be misunderstanding what a product or a service is intended for, and maybe they're not happy, but it's something that you want to communicate to your customer base. So so that sort of makes a lot of sense. In terms of kind of curating that, do you sort of just do that as it comes, or how do you actually plan for that sort of content creation process?
Sure. So all posts and anything that you feel like is going to be created up front should fall into what we call an editorial schedule or a content calendar. You should be able to plan out on a thematic level at least a year to 18 months of content up ahead of schedule. The reason for that is that the seasons, they happen the same way every year. And we know that every 12 months we'll have a new year. Every 3 to 4 months the seasons will change, and so the temperatures will get warmer or cooler or otherwise. And so your industry likely has its own ebb and flow, its own seasons. So say if you're a wedding photographer, that the height of your seasons are going to be in the summer months, the spring and summer months. Maybe you'll have a few fall weddings and probably fewer winter weddings. So you can plot that on a calendar very easily. What the overarching theme, right? It's kind of like your circadian rhythm, right? You get up in the morning and your metabolic rate is high, and then over the course of the day it goes lower. Around 2 or 3 p.m. it rises a little bit, and then it starts to peter off down as the sun sets. Well, that's kind of how your business sales cycle works throughout the year, and so should your content cycle. The only difference is your sales cycle. So I always say to people, how long does it take before I see your content, before I buy from you? And that's the difference between, but when I become a lead, I come into contact with, say, your Instagram profile, and when I actually make a purchase, that is, I end up on your accounting ledger in some way, shape, or form. Well, that difference is the lead time you need to make on your editorial calendar or on your content calendar, such that you're posting content about me and what I'm going to buy. So say you're a photographer and you do weddings sometimes, and you do executive portraits other times of the year. Well, during your busy season, say June or July, at least here in the United States, that is the summer months. So what months are the summer for you there, Doug?
Most of it. We have about 8 or 9 months of summer.
Yeah, so that's good wedding season all year round almost, right?
Pretty much.
but a wedding photographer is going to be in those heightened seasons. So you're going to have the, someone who has a very long period of time. And so say they take the winter months. What are the few cold months you have?
June, July, August is when you probably don't have a wedding.
Right. So June, July, and August, say that photographer then converts to doing executive portrait photography, just as an example. Well, you know that you need to be setting up for scheduling those appointments probably a month, maybe 2 months in advance of someone needing a corporate headshot. And so maybe you're talking to various businesses and so on and so forth in March, April, May, leading up to June, July, and August, so that you have your content schedule putting out content about, hey, these are some headshots that we took last year during June, July, and August, and these people were really happy with it. And we're really looking for new people who are looking for that now. But of course, you're posting that in March, April, and May because you want people and you want to be doing the work in June, July, and August. So if your sales cycle is about a month to 2 months ahead of schedule, you want to start that content so that the people who are making the decisions have a chance to interact with your brand, get to know, like, and trust you, and then to buy from you. So that means that your wedding content is going to start, sometimes a year in advance of the actual time in which you're going to make the decision to hold the wedding, right? So you get engaged, and then you start the process of setting a wedding date, usually a year in advance, maybe sometimes a little less than that, a little more than that on average. And so when are you going to have the wedding? Well, typically people are going to have wedding the next following, spring or summer months. And so a year from now, in that spring or summer month, is when your next buyer is going to start making, having their wedding. But it's that point in time that you need to get the content in front of them so they're aware of who you are and what you are, because it's at that moment they're making the decision about the wedding, which could be, a year to 18 months from now. So we need to be thinking about that, whether that be printing an office print shop locally or a computer repair shop locally, or if you're a wedding photographer, you need to be thinking about how soon is someone going to see this content. And if I have different types of services, like if you sell the same services year round, anybody can buy it any time of year, well, then this really doesn't matter. But for most people, there is a theme, there is an ebb and flow to your year with different types of product and service sales taking priority at different times of the year. And you should then be able to look at the heights, that is, what sells really well in June, and then fill in the lows, not with the stuff that sells high in June, but with the stuff that sells high in those periods, or fill in the gaps. So we can really do a lot to shore up and diversify our service lines and our product lines by looking at the ebb and flow of the natural calendar. And then that becomes our content calendar. That becomes the driving force that helps us decide what fits in where. And there are lots of ways in which you can create a content calendar. I just think it's a useful way to look at the numbers and to look at the seasons that happen in your industry to make that determination. If you go to a lot of exhibitions or trade shows, expos, to get your business, then the expo season, the trade show or the conference season that you need to sell around those times, and so you need to make sure that you get your content to match up with those timeframes as well. So it's just about knowing your business and getting a little bit of idea about when you should be posting content to look best to your audience, and then, as I said at the top, you start capturing the content. It's not really about generating the content, it's about capturing the content. What content do we already have? What content are we constantly creating? In every phone conversation I have with a client, I'm generating content. Am I willing to sit for 15 minutes after a conversation with a client and capture all of the things I told them that were good information that could be used as a blog post or as the description for an upcoming Instagram post? Absolutely. I can spend that 5 to 15 minutes to do that. And that saved me from having to sit there and going, oh, I have to take a photo and I have to come up with a description and all of the nonsense that I hear from small business owners who tell me they can't make it happen. But in reality, if they just use their time effectively and they understood the fact that every time you have a conversation with your client, whether they're upset about something and you solve their problem, or they were happy about something because you gave them the right advice, that's the content you capture, because that's the content that will be sourced into your Instagram stories, into your Instagram posts, into your Instagram videos, and otherwise. And then it just gets put
That
into the
sounds-
calendar. So I might capture the content, sorry, Doug, I might capture the content today, and I may not use that until it shows up in the appropriate time in the content calendar 6 months, 8 months from now, right? I don't care that I created the content today or 3 years ago. I put it into the content calendar where it fits best to be most useful to the business, and then it goes out. And so the content calendar is for the structured content that fits into your sales seasons. And then you have the everyday stuff. And that's where stories really abound, Instagram stories. Instagram story posts are for that ephemeral stuff. You show up at an event and something really fun is happening, or you're at a conference and there's a really great speaker and you go Instagram live their presentation. Those are more authentic, ephemeral and temporal types of content, and show a little bit of maybe the behind the scenes and those kinds of things. They can be very sophisticated. You can make them all a part of your content calendar as well. But I'm just saying that if you're just getting started, that's a good way to think about the barrier between Instagram posts, whether they be photos, gallery posts, or videos, and being more planned items, and then the Instagram stories and Instagram live being more of the unplanned, event-based or event-driven types of content.
That sounds less daunting than it did initially, Ray. So appreciate your guidance on that one. So I think maybe we just need to all open our eyes a little bit more and acknowledge that we're continually creating potential content for an Instagram feed. We just need to have the presence of mind to capture it as we go. And then
Absolutely.
Oftentimes, I guess, whatever we capture will kind of, in a way, inform us as to when the best time to use that content is going to be. It might be immediate, but it might be, as you say, store it away for, coming into Mother's Day or coming into the end of the financial year when small business are preparing accounts or whatever it might be. So, yeah,
Is your computer driving you crazy? Is it slow or doing things you didn't expect? Well, having a computer crash or pick up a virus can be a complete nightmare for a business, so having someone local you can trust to get you up and running again is critical. The dedicated team of experts at Computer Troubleshooters Toowoomba West will put your mind at ease from the moment you walk through the door and will get your problem solved in no time with a 100% guarantee on their work. Laptops, tablets, PCs, whatever you have, Roger and the team can fix it for you. So visit them today at 236 Bridge Street, Newtown. Can't get in to see them? No worries. Just call them on 4642 1331 and they'll come to you. Toowoomba Troubleshooters, Toowoomba West, on the web at www.computertroubleshooters.com.au/Toowoomba West.
Hutchies lives here. We're locals, just like you. To us, construction is really about people, not just bricks and concrete. It's people who bring our structures to life and build communities. We stick by the people who make communities. From Toowoomba Rugby League to RACQ Life Flight Rescue Service, Milne Bay Military Challenge, and the Toowoomba Tennis International, Hutchies is proud to back the people who support the region.
Oz Hosting is proud to support Switched On IT in bringing practical help to Australian businesses. We're talking to literally hundreds of businesses every day about their IT services, how to make them more efficient, how to make their businesses more efficient, and how to protect their valuable data. If you'd like your IT services securely hosted right here in Australia and expertly managed, talk to Oz Hosting. Now we've got all these different, we've become disciplined. We've taken the Ray Kool-Aid on this one, and we're stocking the shelves with content as we go through the days and the weeks and the months. But there's a whole bunch of tools out there that I know that you use to capture content and make it easy, I guess, to get creative with that content and deploy the content. Can you tell us about, what you're finding most useful in terms of the, the Instagram toolkit, because it's not all just snapping a shot and writing a caption to it, is it?
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. There is so much to this, and so let's start off with some of the tools that I love, and then Doug, you can cut me off when time is up. No, but let's start off with generating Instagram posts themselves. There is a tool called Canva, and Canva provides you with the ability to create really stunning posts. There is a desktop web application that is built into your browser. You can go to canva.com and use it in order to create Instagram posts, many different types of graphic layouts, but we're talking about Instagram today. And so you can create posts and stories in the Instagram, because it's laid out exactly the sizes that you should have for Instagram posts and Instagram stories. So you could do that, not video, but for photos or imagery, that is visual assets. And there's also mobile applications, so you can put it on your iOS device or on your Android device, and you can design these things. You can put a photo and then type some text on top of that photo, put emojis on it, and style it, and you can do all kinds of really phenomenal stuff that holds to good design principles, because it gives you proper framing, and it tells you where things are, and it tells you when you're bleeding text off a page, and all really good stuff. And so Canva is just a great tool for being able to create the images in the right sizes so that they post well to Instagram. Then we come to the idea of curating content. On Instagram, there is no reshare button like there is on Twitter or Facebook. You can share a Facebook post, you can retweet something on Twitter, but you cannot do that on Instagram. It's another one of those differences that it has from the other social networks. You're not allowed to put links in Instagram posts other than in your business profile, or your profile, that is, as your bio link, and you're not allowed to have links in your posts generally, other than the hashtags. So the idea here is that there's a tool called Repost, and Repost is an app. Again, it allows you to look at a post on Instagram, and then you copy the link from that post, and then you take it into Repost. Repost then applies credit, gives credit to the person by applying their username to the image, and they make it it looks good, and then it helps then copy that content and the native image from Instagram and the description that comes from Instagram, and helps you repost that to your Instagram account yourself. That is giving credit to that person and all that other fun stuff. Remember, when you curate content, there has to be a purpose behind it. So for example, I frequently will repurpose on one of my accounts content from one of my clients, and they're an economic development agency, and I'm reposting their content because my customers, my clients, will also benefit from knowing that, say, they're having an event, or they're putting out a new program. And I always want to put in, what's the value of me reposting it to my audience? So you should always ask yourself that. What's the value that I'm providing to my audience by resharing, by curating this content to them? And you don't just answer the question in your head. You actually type it into the description that you repost with Repost or whatever other tool you're using. So in essence, you are telling your audience explicitly why you are giving them this content that is somebody else's. And that's really important, because nobody really likes the idea of just retweeting for retweeting's sake on Twitter. People want to know why you retweeted it. What do you have to offer? What do you have to add? Do you disagree with this? Do you agree with it? Do you want to show gratitude to the person who sent it along? Are you resharing it because the content by its very nature is useful to your audience? Then say that. This event's upcoming. I really think you're all going to love it. Go check out this event. That's as much as you may need to put into the post, but taking that little extra step actually goes a long way for your audience not to feel like you're just not spamming them with other people's content. Okay. Some other tools. You can schedule Instagram posts now, which is just really brilliant. You can't schedule Instagram stories, to my understanding, on any profiles yet, but you can now schedule Instagram posts and Instagram video posts to your Instagram profile, your business profiles. And so I'm a HootSuite user, and I'm also a HootSuite Global Brand Ambassador. So I'm a volunteer who loves talking about HootSuite and all things that benefit you by using the social media dashboard tool. And so what HootSuite allows you to do is you connect to your Instagram business profile, and then you create your whole Instagram post, your image or your video, you upload it to HootSuite. You then write your description, add your hashtags. Hashtags are very important on Instagram. You can have up to 30 hashtags in your description per post, and they help connect people to your post because a lot of people follow. So for example, Doug, you can follow a hashtag and never follow any of the people who use that hashtag. So if I'm interested in small business, which I am, I'm a small business advocate, so I'm always following small business. I follow several small business hashtags. So even though I don't follow many of the businesses that are using that hashtag, Instagram knows to show me some of the best content that's being that the hashtag small business is being used for into my profile so that I can see that, which is really, really powerful, because then if I'm going to curate that content to other people, I want to know it's really high quality content, and I don't want to follow all of those people to get to that content, because I'd have to follow hundreds or even thousands of people to ultimately see the good content that Instagram is just providing to me by following the hashtag itself. So it's very, very smart at being able to do that. So following hashtags is very, very powerful. Using hashtags is even more powerful, because that means you get in front of people that you might not, who may never have followed you, but now they're going to see your content because you hashtagged it. Okay, so so in HootSuite, I go ahead and put in my photo content, my video content, my description, and my hashtags, and then I schedule the post, and then it goes out whenever I told it to go out, and voila. Now, the issue of capturing content, putting it into your content editorial calendar, and making a decision when it's going to go out now means you can actually execute on that whenever you want. You could take 3 hours of your week and do all of your scheduling for the next 3 months, and now it's just all done. And so you can do that kind of planned, scheduled posting up front, or you could do it as you want to, as you come across things and you decide they're going to go into particular areas. You can start filling in the gaps, but you have a lot of control now that you can schedule. So I really like Canva, Repost, and HootSuite as kind of the three underpinnings of any really good Instagram toolkit.
Okay, now I have a question about HootSuite, or I got a couple of questions. Firstly, HootSuite, is it something that the ordinary business owner should be using? What does it cost, and how does it help them with other social media platforms?
Yeah, sure. So there is a free plan. I'm going to have to look this up now, but there is a free plan on HootSuite for people to get started. And you can see whether or not HootSuite is really worth your while in using it. Honestly, I haven't met a business owner who hasn't found it worth their while. The ability to be able to look at your Facebook page, your Twitter account, your Pinterest boards, your, I think I said Facebook page, your Instagram profile, your LinkedIn company page, your LinkedIn profile, all in one dashboard, and monitor your mentions, your messages, your DMs, and schedule your posts all in the same environment is just such a huge time saver. I can't imagine doing everything in real time and having enough time for the rest of my job, the rest of my business. So HootSuite really provides that benefit. And for those who can't can't deal with HootSuite because they don't like this or that about HootSuite, there are other applications that are out there that do this. There's Buffer, and there's other kinds of tools out there that replicate some of the features of HootSuite and even have a different kind of flavor about how they execute social media management. I just happen to like HootSuite. And so the various plans, so you get a 30-day free trial with HootSuite, and then there are different types of plans that are out there for being able to connect. But so people can try it out if they want to see whether or not HootSuite really works for them. And so it's I think every business should have something similar to it. One of the hidden features that HootSuite has that I really love is it allows you to be able to connect RSS feeds. That is the feeds that are connected to blogs and podcasts and other kinds of services. And so if you have a blog and you want to syndicate those posts out to Twitter and to Facebook and to other networks, you can actually do that through HootSuite. You can say, every time I post to my blog, I want you to send a tweet out to, out to my followers on Twitter with the name of the blog post and a link to it and some hashtags on this schedule. And so you have some real power in HootSuite that are kind of little hidden details, but each of those little features adds up to being a fairly strong platform for being able to manage your social media. So yeah, I think it's absolutely, every business should at least entertain it and give the free trial a whirl.
Okay, thanks, Ray. Also in that area, one of the things that must be a little bit confronting for people is to think, okay, well, I need to make sure that I'm using all the hashtags that a business like mine should be using. So firstly, how do you pull together all the hashtags that you should be using? And then my second question is, because I think we'll close this episode in a minute or two. Following answering that question, can you tell us about, just before we wrap up this episode, any of the other tools that you're finding really useful at the moment?
Sure, yeah. So in terms of hashtags, the site that I use is called allhashtag.com. There's a hyphen in there between all and hashtag, so all-hashtag.com. And also think about the mix of the hashtags that you're using. So all hashtags provides you with a key, you type in a keyword. Say I type in small business. It's going to spit out, if you click on the top hashtags, it's going to spit out for me the top 30 hashtags that are currently being used on Instagram. Well, what if I'm doing a small business event in my local town? Well, that's actually 3 different categories of hashtags that I want to have in my post. That is the type of event, that it's an event, and that it's in a location. So we have a couple things we can do here. We can mix up the hashtags. We can use a few hashtags, say 10 hashtags about a small business, 10 hashtags that are event focused, so people know that it's an event, so someone searching for events can find the event, and then 10 hashtags about locality, various types of, maybe the city, maybe the state, maybe the county or region, province or otherwise, that kind of are around where the event's going to be, where the likely people who are going to attend the event are going to be. So you can mash those things up. The other is the location of your post can be set. So if you have an event, just as an example, or if you have a restaurant or a bakery or coffee shop or whatever, if you want to get people to know where the post is or should be, that is, if I'm the customer, where should I be to interact with this post? Well, I should probably be at your coffee shop. Well, you can tag your own coffee shop in the post itself. And so when someone's looking at locations in Instagram, they can actually geolocate things based on their location and where they want to go visit. Say they want to go walk around, they're in town, they're visiting from out of town, they want to go to a coffee shop tomorrow, and they search your area and you posted your Instagram post and it's in the area they want to walk around tomorrow. Well, now they're going to see it because they came across it in their discovery mode, and exploring Instagram based on location. So location is just as important as a part of that post as anything else. There are a couple of different tools out there that are really powerful. I don't have time for them now, but I'm sure we'll talk about them in the future. One particular tool allows, actually there's 2 of these out there, and they're not coming to my mind, but you can just quickly Google them. But they, in essence, they are point of sale tools. They're payment tools where if you're selling individual, say bespoke items, like say you sell on Etsy, you can actually post an Instagram photo and have it connected to an invoicing tool that when someone places, say, their email address in the comments, it automatically generates an email invoice to that person. And when they pay it, then it automatically either takes the Instagram post down or marks it as sold or something like that, so people know that the item has been purchased. And so you have a lot of people who make, say, custom products. Say I'm a woodworker and I make custom wooden desks, and they're each $2,000 a piece, and they're work of art by themselves. I post a picture to Instagram, and my followers can see it, and if somebody wants to buy it, the first person who gets their email address as a comment and then pays for it is the winner, and then voila, it comes off the market because there's only one of my products. And so that's one of actually my favorite tools, is that it actually turns Instagram into an e-commerce tool with virtually no overhead. The whole premise behind it is effectively using your organic content, that is the photographs or video of your desk. Maybe you take what are those called, those sped up, those time-lapse videos of you making the desk, and then you have a final post that basically says, here goes the finished desk. If you really want this desk, let me know by putting your email address in the comments, and you'll get an invoice. And the first person to pay the invoice gets the desk. That's a very, very powerful sales strategy, all built on top of the Instagram platform. So there's lots of tools out there, at least 2 tools out there that I know that do that, and then many other tools that let you optimize for the grid and help you post and split up. Say you take a 5-minute video. There are tools that allow you to break up that video into little 10-minute segments and then publish them as Instagram stories. So you could take a 5-minute video and turn them into, I don't know I can't do the math, but if you have a 5-minute video, it's going to split them up into just little 6-minute, 10-second videos, and now you have that many multiples of that 5 minutes of content is now all an Instagram story that you can then save as a highlight. And so you have a lot of power with some of these tools in creating Instagram content and getting around the barriers that Instagram puts to it. Another tool, really quick, is I think it's called Linktree, and Linktree allows you to put a single link in your bio, as you're allowed to. When you click on it, it then creates buttons so that you'll have a series of buttons that show up on each page that are different links. So you can have your website, your e-commerce shop, your blog, and maybe some other content, maybe a lead magnet or 2. And now you have all of those links available to someone when they click on that link in bio from your Instagram business profile. So you have some flexibility there, that where you only had one link that you could change, you now have a page where you can send people to and send them to multiple links. So lots of really good tools out there.
Wow, that's a lot. Okay, that's terrific, Ray. I think I'm not as daunted by the content creation as I was before. The toolkit, the tools that you've outlined sound absolutely terrific, and really extend, I think, what we can do with Instagram. So yeah, that sounds amazing. I think I'm looking forward to our next episode. We'll wrap this episode, but I think the next episode we can talk about Instagram advertising, and maybe also how we're going to use those tools in creating advertising content as well. So thanks for that, Ray.
There's some fantastic tools for advertising too.
Brilliant. Okay, thanks, Ray, and Barry, over to you.
Thank you, Ray Sidney Smith and Doug Endersby. This has been a really interesting session. I'm sure that there are going to be a lot of people out there that will either be saying, this is too much for me, or they will be saying, wow, this is great. So I'm sure that we'll probably come back and talk about some of the other things that you wanted to talk about, Ray, and in another episode at some stage. So thank you again for your time. Any parting words that either of you have?
I think there's a lot to be done, but I think there's clearly a roadmap. So I feel a lot differently about it than I did, a week ago when we started discussing Instagram. And I've been, across a few businesses using Instagram, but very poorly, I guess, because the content creation piece of it was probably the most daunting factor for us. And so I can really see some things we can do in there now. So I really appreciate that, Ray.
Yeah, that's terrific. All right. Thank you, gentlemen.
Thanks, Ray. Thanks, Barry.
Thanks, Doug. Thanks, Barry.